Thank you very much, Ray. Steve. I need my file. I need my notebook. How's that? Thank you. Oops. Right. No, the session here. Ladies and gentlemen, we continue immediately, if not sooner. I'd like to invite His Excellency, the Minister of Tourism, Excellency Ahmed Al Khateeb, to join me. Excellency, where are you? Oh, there you are. If you'd like to sit here. And at the same time, Arnold, CEO of Carnival Corporation. Arnold. Oh, there you are, sir.
How are you?
How are you? You're looking well. You're looking good. All right. Tourism. They want us to talk about, thank you. Please do join us on this side. They want us to talk about tourism. And the reality is, it's been absolutely clobbered. Completely. Just quickly tell me, how much debt did you take on, Arnold?
We added about $19 billion of debt.
19 billion.
Yeah, and diluted, and we also took on about $4 billion of additional equity. Yeah.
How many ships are now sailing?
We have about about 50% of our fleet, so a little over 40 ships sailing. Yeah.
Are you cash positive yet on an operating basis?
No, individual ships are, but overall, no.
Right. Minister, it's almost like, what's the point of talking about your tourism strategy when at the moment everybody's strategy is in tatters?
Yeah.
So what is your strategy? How are you now going to change your strategy?
Yeah, thank you, Richard. It's a short term. Strategy is for a long term. First of all, I'd like to thank FII for putting the tourism in the front of this firm. And I would like to welcome my friend Arnold. He represents the top 200 CEOs globally. Today you have the public sector and the private sector. In this crisis, or these crises, are temporary, short term. We always plan for a long term, and we believe our sector will definitely recover. The most impacted, Richard, two sectors globally were travel and tourism. The sector dropped by more than the contribution of the sector to the global GDP dropped by more than 80% in 2020. We lost more than 60 million jobs out of the 330 million jobs in our industry, and therefore the crisis definitely impacted our industry severely. And the industry is very important. It creates 1 out of 10 jobs globally.
All right. I think the point, Excellency, is what do we do now? What do we do now, both short term to help repair that damage and longer term to put in place a proper strategy? Arnold, start with you, sir, and then Minister.
First of all, I just want to again thank His Excellency the Minister and everyone here in Saudi Arabia for bringing tourism to the forefront here, because as he was referencing, over 330 million jobs in 2019 is in the tourism sector. And the countries cannot fully recover without travel and tourism recovering. So what do we need to do now? We need a number of things. First, we need the collaboration between governments and the private sector. At WTTC, World Travel and Tourism Council, I represent over 200 CEOs from around the world and destinations like here in the kingdom. And first and foremost, we need a partnership to do the following things. One, harmonization. So frictionless travel. All these people are here today, and it's wonderful to see them, but those that had to travel far, they will only do it if they can do it in a way that works for them. So we need frictionless travel, and to do that, we need harmonization across the countries. Secondly, vaccinations. First, we have to accept the vaccinations in different places to make it frictionless travel. And then secondly, vaccine equity. So to make certain, people can be vaccinated, as was said in the opening keynote. Third thing, after that, is we need tools to make it easy to travel, such as digital passports. Okay, and then lastly, enhanced safety protocols like those we're seeing, here at the FII.
So on that point, first point, because forgive the boasting here, but I've probably done more travel than most in this room over the last 12 months, from one side of the world to the other. And I came yesterday, on this trip I've so far been to Germany, Russia, Italy, here, back to Italy, London and home. It is far from harmonized at the moment, Minister.
Absolutely.
The regulations are different. PCR or antigen diffusion, digital travel, digital EV.
That's why I might traveled more than you in the last 6 months. I've been in the plane for 200 hours in the last 6 months. I attended the American commissions, the European commissions, the African commissions, just to get all the world aligned toward to work together, to collaborate and cooperate, and to work with the private sector, because they operate the sector. We regulate the sector and they operate the sector. And to have a unified travel protocol. Today, travel is a nightmare. Europe is working alone. We want all the other continents to work together to come up with a one unified
It's
travel
not going to happen. I'm not a cynic. I travel in optimism. But I understand that at the height of the crisis last year, governments were more concerned with protecting national borders. But witness how long it took the US to reopen. Admittedly, it's doing it on next Monday. Hallelujah.
Right.
So from the public sector, Minister, what more can you do to basically tell other ministers, do it?
We have attended all the commissions and we are pushing them and we are highlighting how risky is it. It is a nightmare today to travel. And therefore, we are bringing this issue to the front of the ministers. We are putting it on the table. We have the UNWTO meeting in December this year. We will keep pushing the world to unify and to talk together and to work together to at least agree on a travel protocol.
Right, but even Saudi.
And to work together, because this is a global problem. The solution has to be to come from
I accept that, but personal experience is often the best form. Saudi still requires a PCR, not an antigen, to come in here, which meant 2 days ago I'm scouting around paying 175 euros to get a PCR to come here today. Now, I'm not blaming you, honestly. But I am saying to you, sir, you must be finding this every time. For example, Florida and your ships.
Yeah. I did 10 cities in 9 days a couple of weeks ago in Europe. And I had 12 different tests, okay? 12, because every time I went on a ship in a shipyard or at the port, you have to test to be on our ships. And the tests were different. And so some down the throat, some down the throat and up the nostril and so on and so forth. One was actually painful, which was a unique experience. But in any event, the bottom line is, so look, the world is learning. I think the message you said, what do we need to do to go forward? Right. So going forward, we need to harmonize, and we need to simplify, but we do need to keep in the forefront the best interests of public health.
I want to move beyond COVID.
Yes.
I'm taking you into a post-COVID world, and I want to know how the statistics you mentioned, Minister, 10% of the world's population, next 100 million people, it brings people up, it's aspirational. What more can it do? What more does the industry need to do? And I think, for example, of certain countries where tourism, outbound tourism, is basically tour companies on a very closed type of trip. What more can tourism do to open up and spread the benefit?
We have 7 billion plus people live in this planet. Only 1.6 billion or 20% traveled in 2019, and that was a record. And based on WTCC numbers, before COVID, they were expecting this number to double to 3 billion, means expanding the jobs. The 330 million jobs will double. It will offer jobs. Most of the jobs the industry creates are targeting the women. 54% of the jobs in the tourism and travel sector towards the women, and therefore, 80% of our industry is served by small and medium enterprises.
So do you also need to put in place rules for minimum standards of working conditions, wages, so that those women that are brought in are paid a fair rate compared to men or others doing the job? We don't want it just to be a low-cost industry.
Oh, no, it's already exists, and the demand is increasing, and we are very optimistic about the future, Richard. This pandemic will be behind us sooner or later, and therefore we have to be ready for another wave of a very strong growth. This industry is very important. It connects nations, and Saudi Arabia is playing a very important role today to bring many initiatives to whether in the training or on the sustainability. For example, we have just launched the Global Sustainability Center, and also in bringing the world together to talk and to address the main issues that is impacting our industry.
But Arnold, and I'm speaking to you now with your hat as chair of WTTC, but also because of your ships. How do we prevent going back to the bad old days for places like Barcelona, Venice, those over-tourist destinations? I've just come from Venice. The numbers are back, which is great, but the risk is we're back to the bad old days.
You know, I'm not sure the days were bad old days, but what I will say is this. Just think what travel does. So look at this conference. What travel does, it brings people together, very diverse people. People discover what they have in common, and they learn to celebrate the differences rather than to fear them. So travel is essential for mankind to grow and become better over time. So when you go to Venice or Barcelona or you come here to the kingdom, it's someone's home. You have to respect their home. You have to respect how they choose, to invite guests to their home. And so whether it's Venice or Barcelona, and the cruise industry has a great track record in places like Dubrovnik and others, where we've worked with the locals, and we make certain we come in a way that supports the quality of life that they're seeking. We support the micro economies and the large economies there, but also we make certain we come and leave in a manner that works for them. And so with staycationers, the travel and tourism sector more broadly has the same orientation, and it goes all the way over to sustainability more broadly, whether it's climate change or whether it's protecting the oceans or protecting the air.
Taking that, and this is not just about, this is not related specifically to the cruise or the ship industry. We talk about the low-cost airlines, the getaway weekends. They have mushroomed, and they will be back. I mean, everything I've seen shows that tourism will be back stronger than ever before. But what policies are needed so that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past?
We need to make our sector more resilient and sustainable. We had experienced a crisis because of the pandemic. We were not sustainable, whether economically or socially, and therefore, and also we need to create the policy to protect the environment, because the growth in the industry will bring all the challenge with.
There's only two ways to do it. One is regulation, the other is economic. You either price people out so they can't afford it with extra charges or tolls and taxes and things like that, or the economic raises the price, or you regulate the number of people who can come in.
I don't necessarily agree with that, Richard. I would say if you take, and there are other companies, I'll just use mine because I'm very familiar with it, with regards to climate change. Nobody regulated that we go to LNG. In fact, we started building the first LNG cruise ship when we weren't even sure how we were going to fuel it. We didn't know what the itinerary could be because infrastructure wasn't in place. By the time we built it, we had done a partnership with Royal Dutch Shell, so we had a way to fuel the ship and have the itinerary. And now we have 11 LNG ships coming. So we peaked in emissions in 2011. We've expanded capacity 25% since then, and our emissions are lower today than they were in 2011. That was without anybody regulating us to do anything, okay? And it was with us, looking at the long-term effects and not just the short-term capital and the short-term economic impact. Having said that, it is good in a partnership with government and private industry to work towards regulations that will promote with a sense of urgency, the proper sustainability approaches. And that's happening all over the world. There'll be a COPS. It's coming up in Glasgow and other things. And so if we work together, private and governments together, we can do this in a way where we are accelerating progress in sustainability and doing it in a way where economies can still thrive.
But there is a big gap in sustainability and environment issues, and therefore Saudi Arabia had realized this and stepped in and announced 2 days ago the creation of the Global Sustainability Center. This Sustainability Center not only will produce research to protect the environment, but also will action this research and arrange the funding to address the environment issues.
What's your target for 5 years' time? Number of visitors, 5 years' time to the kingdom.
My deputy can tell you, she has the numbers,
We'll get the number.
We will go to the 100 million visits from 40 million today by 2030. We announced this.
2030?
By 2030, and Saudi Arabia today is the biggest investor in the sector. We are investing over $1 trillion in the next 10 years.
And Quest World of Wonder will be coming from Saudi Arabia in January. Final question to you, Arnold. What was it like when you heard and you saw the first as it set sail, and you thought, first of all, thank God, there's money coming in again. But what was it like inside?
Look, it's very emotional. You tear up because we're all about human spirit. We're hospitality, but it's all about human spirit. The guests were over the moon. The crew was so excited to be back on board. And the combination has led to some of the highest guest satisfaction scores ever. But you see it not just in cruise, you see it throughout travel and tourism as things restart. And we are on a mission at WTTC to ensure that the over 62 million jobs that were lost, are recovered and then some, because it's important to drive, success in the global economy and a better quality of life for everyone.
And God, hopefully we never see, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Thank you.
That is our panel.
Thank you.